Good morning, evening, afternoon. I'm the Aidenator. Welcome back to this episode of the Small YouTuber Podcast. Today we are joined by Tim and, of course, my co-host Ed. Tim from the YouTube channel OurTim, which has about 900 subscribers. He makes automotive videos. He is a host of many car shows. Tim, welcome to the show.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well. How's lockdown number 2 treating you?
Lockdown number 2, actually I feel a lot better about than lockdown number 1 because it's going into winter and a lot of the shows and events that I do obviously happen through the summer months. So going into winter, I'm not too concerned about that.
Great stuff. Give us a little overview of your channel. I mean, I know I kind of introed it already, but the sort of videos you make, the sort of the style of your videos, and why people would want to watch your stuff.
So my channel takes you to the shows and events that I present. So I present a whole range of shows and events. There's a lot of automotive stuff on there because I love automotive stuff. But it can be anything from like county fairs to conferences to all sorts of different military festivals, for example. And I had the idea probably about 18 months ago that I wanted to give people the same experience that I get when I go to these shows, which is quite unique. I get to go into these arenas and get really up close to quite exciting stuff, like engines out of Spitfires, for example, or World War II cannons, for example. And it was just sort of like, this is really cool. I get to do all this stuff. The other problem that I had probably about 2 years ago was I started reaching out to essentially get a few more clients. And they were like, that's great. Have you got any examples of your work? Because unfortunately, no. All I've got is the odd photo, but that doesn't actually show me doing what I do.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, if I start videoing this, it can become, it can become sort of a portfolio for me. And I thought, well, rather than just doing it as a portfolio, maybe it could be for people who are there, they can actually relive the event. People who couldn't make it there, they can also see it as well. And it started to grow. It's slow. And I would hoped this year that it would grow a lot faster than it has. But then, of course, COVID came along. And of the 40 odd events that I had booked for this year, I only got in about 6 because of COVID.
Wow.
So it really hammered all the plans I had for the channel. And back in like April, May, I was like, okay, this is a bit of a problem because I planned to publish content. So I started thinking of other content that I could put on the channel. I started focusing on the various cars that I have knocking around because I absolutely love cars. I've got 5 cars in my fleet, as it were. So I did a couple of videos on those and hopefully go do a few more videos on those through the winter.
Excellent stuff. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of your videos. They're very well made, and you've had quite a large amount of success considering you've only done it for a year and a half, 2 years. Almost on 1,000 subscribers. That's much faster than I got to 1,000 subscribers, definitely.
Still pushing. I think the last count is something like 906. When is this podcast going out, by the way?
You raise a good question. I don't know exactly, but I think sometime either later this month or early December.
Okay, so we're right at the start of November now, so hopefully in the next 4 weeks, who knows? My aim is to try and get to the magic 1,000 before the end of 2020. We've had just rubbish year. I want to achieve one thing this year, and that is to get to 1,000 subscribers this year.
Well, you're growing pretty fast, actually, and I mean, when you submitted the form a couple of weeks ago, you had about 870, so it's definitely an achievable goal. So if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed to Tim, I'll link his channel in an info card in the description and everything. So definitely check him out. Edward, do you have any questions to start us off with?
Yeah, so the 6 shows you did manage to go to this year, which of those would you say was your favourite?
Probably my favourite was... Oh, that's a very good question. Okay, there was 2 that stood out for me. There was Tanks, Trucks and Firepower, which if you haven't been to, there are 2 full-length feature films on my channel from that show. It's a 3-day military festival. And there's not much red tape. Some of these bigger shows, there's a lot of red tape that's involved, and there's politics and so forth with people with different agendas coming in, as do all big organisations as they start to grow. It just more people get involved and they each try to put their own stamp on things. Tanks, Trucks and Firepower is not like that. It's a very, very small team that put it together. And because of that, it's very flexible. And I started working with them probably about 6 or 7 years ago. And they very much said to me, it's pretty much up to you what you do. So it was the first show that I got cut out of a car by the fire brigade. And that was because I said to them, guys, it's pouring down with rain. People are going to go home. We need to do something amazing here. What about if I sit in this scrap car and the fire brigade who are here cut me out of it? That'd be a pretty good spectacle, wouldn't it? And that started off a little tradition now that I get cut out of cars every year. I think I've been cut out of something like 34 cars now. So Tank Trucks and Firepower was great fun this year, purely because it defied everything that was going against it. At the end of July, they got their license to hold the event from the local authorities, from the police and so forth, and said, yes, you can hold this event because it's across a huge area. Their site, it's the biggest tank arena in the UK. Okay, it's absolutely huge. It's one of the very few places you can take a Scorpion up to its top speed of 60 miles an hour in the UK. And it just defied the odds. And I was involved not only with the show in presenting it this year, but also with the marketing of it. They came to me and said, look, we know you know your stuff about digital marketing and so forth, so can you help us with that? And we had 1 month to get the word out there that this was happening and that this show was going to, happen and people could come to it. So I was really involved in that. And in the space that they used to do like 9 months worth of promotion, we had 1 month to do it all. And in that month, we sold double the amount of tickets that we would usually sell. Wow. They had a queue literally round the car park for people to come in. And it just had this most amazing buzz about it. It was so exciting because people have been, cooped up. We had people coming from the Isle of Wight. They were coming all the way from the Isle of Wight up to Warwickshire to bring their, whatever it was that they brought with them. In fact, the one guy who came from the Isle of Wight, he brought his ex-RAF Land Rover, which he then let me drive after the show. And there's a video of that on my channel. It was a wonderful little Land Rover. You can't miss it, bright yellow. And it was, I don't know how much you know about them, but it was a lightweight Land Rover that was designed to be thrown out the back of helicopters and so forth, very lightweight and be able to parachute into difficult places. This was almost a reverse. It was based on an RAF base in Scotland to look after aircraft coming in. So it got a really cool story, and that show was really cool this year. The other show that stood out was, I've called it the Best of British on my channel, but it was the amalgamation of 3 shows at the British Motor Museum. It was the National Metro Mini Show, and of course Metro celebrated, I think it was 40 or 45 year anniversary of the Metro this year. There was the British Leyland Show and I think it was the BMC show, and all of them were rolled into one. And I didn't think many people were going to turn up for them because it was all rolled into one. At 11:30 in the morning, they had a queue of cars to come into the show, not people to actually visit, but actual cars to go on show, a mile long still at 11:30. And usually all the cars are in by, say, 9:30, 10 o'clock. Wow. So that was a really exciting show as well. There was so much going on there.
Wow, that does sound... Yeah. Car show-wise, I've been to Carfest twice.
Yes.
But that is about it. Have you presented at Carfest before?
Little sneak. There is a chance I may be there next year.
Oh.
We're currently talking about that. So the organisers for that, I did one of their shows this year, which was the Bicester Heritage Show. It was the Classic Car Driving Weekend. Another awesome show. Another amazing show that came out of nowhere. So Carfest maybe.
Interesting. Edward, have you been to any car shows?
I actually haven't, no.
Well.
I would like to, but no, I've not yet.
Edward, as soon as I've got my show list for next year, I will send you a full list of them, and I will recommend a couple for you to come to. You can come down as my guest and see what they're like.
Wow,
well, that sounds brilliant, yeah.
Quality content that would be, yeah.
Yeah, I could get a video out of that, certainly.
Easy, yeah, that would be pretty good. So yeah, if COVID has died down by then, that would be, that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Back to your channel. The name OurTim.
Yes.
Where does that come from? What is that?
That came from when I was working in radio. So I started out presenting, probably about 10 years ago now. And I was working for a local commercial radio station called Mercia up in the West Midlands, up in Coventry. And I was part of the breakfast show. And I was this character. I had quite a thick Black Country accent. And the Black Country is a sort of an industrial area in the West Midlands. And people from the Black Country are known as yam yams because we keep going around going, yam all right, yam all right. And I had a very thick Black Country accent there. So, you all right? How are you doing? You all right? And they wanted to play on this, and they knew what I was like. I mean, if you've seen my shows, there's not much that phases me. And one of my things is when people say to me, "Why are you doing that?" It's like, well, why not? So that was always my mentality. Always say yes, and they were like, "Can you go and do this? Can you go and do that?" And they would always cross over to me when I'd be like doing something stupid. For example, waking somebody up at 6 o'clock in the morning with the drum kit after he's just done an 18-hour shift in Cardiff and just driven all the way home. Yeah, that kind of thing. And they'd always go, "OurTim, you all right? How you doing, OurTim?" And it was just a name that stuck. And then when I started going out and like doing more promo stuff and doing more outside broadcasts, people started recognising the name OurTim. And I was like, well, I'll just hold on to that. So when I went freelance, that was the name I held on to. And I find that it works really well the further up north in the country I go. Yeah. So if I go towards the Midlands and beyond and so forth, especially around Yorkshire, as soon as I email is ourtim.co.uk, they're like, "Oh, OurTim, it's OurTim," and they really get a buzz from it. I found in the south they're not so receptive to it.
OurTim.
Yeah. OurTim. What is OurTim? And then as soon as I explain, they're like, right.
Yeah. Doesn't quite get the same response in the south. No. Yeah, that makes sense. I was like, it should really be pronounced OurTim rather than our Tim.
It's OurTim. OurTim, not our Tim. It's OurTim.
Yeah, you can't have that many syllables in our, really. Yeah, we're from sort of the Manchester area, so our kid is something.
There you go.
Here.
That's pretty much where it came from. It's also our kid or our Dave or our this, our that. So it just stuck, and I thought, well, that's a quite nice name.
Yeah,
it's quite endearing as well. It warms you to people, and certainly some of the audiences that I've worked with, further up north in the country and so forth. Whenever I go around, and say like going between arenas or whatever, it is quite nice when people go, "OurTim," and you're like, "Yes, what's up?" And that it just breaks that barrier between you and the audience, which for me is really important. I don't want to be separate from the audience. It's part of the reason why I started the channel, is because I'm stood in the arena and I get to see these things right up close. I get to hold bullets that are going into a gun and, sit in cars that are going to be crushed or are going to be cut apart to get me out of them. I'm there, and for me, I'm sort of that medium to explain what's going on to everybody stood around. Now, I've been to hundreds of shows and so forth, and I've seen plenty of commentators, and I still see them now. And I mean, no disrespect to some of them, but they are the experts on whatever they are talking about, and they literally bore people to tears. I can see people sat there going, "Oh God, I really don't care the fact that one's got 4 bolts rather than 3 because it's a 1984 model. I just don't care. Tell me something exciting." Whereas I turn up and I don't want to talk to the person who's gone to the show. They probably know just as much, if not more, than me about the car I'm talking about or the thing that I'm talking about. Who I want to talk to are their wives, their girlfriends, the kids they've brought along, their parents, whoever it might be, so that they can go there and actually connect with that thing. So I'll walk in there and go, "Yes, but look at this, it's got a 37-litre blah 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 blah, and this is why it's so exciting," and make it exciting, share some of that excitement. And that's what I try and do with my shows and events, and it's why I've been quite successful in retaining clients and growing the way I have. And I wanted to bring that to YouTube. I wanted to people to feel that excitement that I feel. And earlier this year I got to drive a stock car around the British Motor Museum. Now, if I'd have just written about that, you don't get that feeling, that connection. Strap a couple of cameras to it and drive around in it, you get to feel the noise. You can, you don't get the smells, but you do get the same vibrations coming through the camera and so forth. And I want people to almost be sat in that driving seat as if they were doing it. That's how close I want them to feel.
Yeah, and the name OurTim, it just brings everybody together into this thing, and
exactly.
It brings that sense of intimacy. Might not be the best word, but closeness.
Yeah, exactly. I want them to feel like they're my best friend.
Yeah,
and I'm their best friend. And if we were to, I would love it to be to a situation. If I walked into a pub and someone, I don't know, recognised me or whatever it was, not that I'm that fussed about fame, But if they did see me and go, oh, that's, the guy off YouTube who does, who got cut out cars and so forth, they wouldn't sit in the corner going, oh, look over there's Tim. Da, da, da. I'd hate that. I'd prefer them to like turn around and go, oh, bloody hell, it's our Tim. Our Tim, do you want a drink? And that kind of thing. Like, yes, no problem. And it's my round next time. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah, the name is so important, especially with YouTube. And a lot of people don't give it enough thought. I mean, it's kind of ironic and hypocritical to say, because Edward and we have not put much thought into our names for YouTube. But
mine's just an inside joke that I haven't been bothered to change.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, you've got to share that now. What's the inside joke?
Well, people always used to compare me to a gazelle, and my name is Ed, so Gazed.
Okay, why were you compared to a gazelle?
I don't really remember, if I'm honest.
I seem to recall in year 7 you just doing a gazelle impression, which involved like slamming your head violently onto the table. And yeah, I don't remember much more than that. I don't really know. It made sense at the time, but in explaining it, it really doesn't.
It does sound like me.
Yeah, year 7 you was off the rails, clearly.
Yeah.
Because if it was sort of like making the noise of a gazelle, I'd be up for that. But slamming your head against the table, let's not do that right now.
Yeah, I wish we had more context, but I can't remember. It's. Back to you, Tim. What are your goals with YouTube? What is there? Do you want it to become, a major source of income when you reach monetization status, or is it just still this portfolio to sort of sell yourself for shows?
Okay, so I've got two aims for it. One, I would love it to be an income source, because then I can do more content. I can sort of grow it more and more and more, and I don't want to. And I've been very, very particular with this on, you do see like the YouTubers out there who say, I've got X million followers. Why should I pay for this? I used to work in a PR agency, and I had a YouTuber call me at one point going, in fact, no, it wasn't a YouTuber who called me. It was a client, and she was a wedding cake business. We've seen this loads of times, but she had an influencer get in touch and say, look, my friend's getting married and I want to get her this wedding cake, yada, 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 yada. And I'll write you a fantastic report on my blog and put you on my Instagram and blah, 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 blah. And she was like, yeah, that's great, fantastic. I'll send you the quote. And she was like, no, I'm not paying for it because you're getting all this exposure. And she was like, oh, I'm not interested then. She said, no, you don't understand. If you don't do it, then I will still put you on my blog and I will still put you on Instagram, but I will literally run you into the ground. So she was trying to blackmail her. And like, I remember the client calling me and she was distraught because she had worked years to build this business up. And now this influencer who come out of nowhere was literally about to potentially try and ruin her business, all because she wouldn't give away part of her goods for free. And I remember dealing with that situation and speaking with that influencer and just feeling like, who is this person who feels so entitled that they can call up a business and say, I am the big I am and I want this and blah 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 blah. And that's just not me. It's not me at all. Even, I have a friend down in, if you've seen some of the other episodes of my cars, I've got a friend down in Wales who runs a garage and we work together on one of my cars. And, it required a lot of work to be done. It actually took about 3 days to do it all in the end. And even though we were working together on it and so forth, he said to me, look, I'm not going to charge you the full rate for this and so forth because I haven't done all the work and you were doing some work for me and blah, blah, blah. And I said, no. I'm paying what is the fair rate for it. If it was anybody else, they would pay you. You're running a business. I'm running a business. Fair's fair. I pay my way every single part of the way. So I would love it to get to the stage that it is earning me, money so that I can spend more time doing it. And that's ultimately it, is because I have to spend time earning money. I have a mortgage to pay. I've got a wife and so on and so forth. These things cost money. It costs money to live. And, all the kit that I use and run around with and so forth, it gets broken, it breaks down and so forth. And that costs money to repair. And ultimately, if I'm working, doing other bits and pieces to earn that money, I'm not spending time on YouTube and creating what I hope people think is great content, which is why I'd like to get to that monetization station for it to start earning so I can spend more time doing it. And then I can actually spend more time thinking of even more stupid things to do. So, last year I decided I wanted to learn to ride a motorbike. Did a YouTube series about that. again, that was not funded in any way. The company that I did it with, I rang them and said, I want to book to do this. Yep, fine. This is how much it costs. Great. At the very end of it, I said, look, I'd like to do a YouTube series on it for my channel. I'm not asking for anything for free. I just want your permission to be able to film. And they were like, yeah, that's fine. Bring whatever you want. Just make sure you don't distract other people. So I started doing that. And after the first episode, which I sent to them and said, there you go, what do you think of that? And they were like, this is mega. Yeah, this is great. Bring more cameras next time. And they helped me film it. And it just made it, I still said to them, look, I'm paying you and so forth. But I do remember on the last episode where I was like taking my test, a thing I hadn't thought about was if I fail, like, it doesn't bother me. If I fail, I fail. As far as I'm concerned, I don't dress things up on my YouTube channel. What you see is the truth. There's no, setup or anything like that. What happens is real. So if I failed, I fail. It's a mark on me. I do the test again. Fine. What I hadn't thought about up until that point was if I fail, it will also reflect on the agency and the driving school that was teaching me to ride. So I was very, very clear on everything. I was like, look, if something goes wrong, it's nothing to do with those guys, it's me. Thankfully, I did pass first time, and I think I got something like 3 minors on it. So I was really pleased and said, that was a really good ride. You've done really well. And then after that, the company that I worked with, the driving school, have said, look, we'd love to work with you more and do more bits and pieces with you. So that's been a really good relationship that's grown out of me going up to them and saying, look, I just want to do this. I'm not asking anything from you. And that's how I think I will continue to approach YouTube. Is say, I want to do this. I'm not asking anything from you. I just want to do this. And when I see other YouTubers approaching companies saying, I want to do this and I want this, because this is what you're going to get, that really grates on me. Really, really grates on me. It's all like, no. Nobody in this world is entitled. My approach is, no one is better than me, but I'm better than no one. We are all equal. So, yeah, that's why I'd love to get it to a monetization stage and do more stuff.
Yeah, that's really good advice, actually. So yeah, for small YouTubers who are potentially watching this, just even because at a smaller YouTuber level, if you've got, say, under 10,000 subscribers is the cutoff point for this podcast. So people with smaller-ish channels, you can't really expect other people to just give you their products for free. You've got to have that level of empathy and compassion and willingness to do your half, do your side of the deal as well. But yeah, as you say, you've now got this really good relationship with this company, and it's just about being proactive and putting yourself out there and saying, look, we can both benefit from this. And I think that's a really good message. Edward, have you got any other questions?
Yeah, so you say you've got Carfest is a maybe thing you're going to be doing next year. Are there any other shows that you've got in the pipeline for next year?
Yes, there are. Well, at the moment, because the COVID and it's so uncertain and so forth, I don't want to say anything out of place on behalf of my clients. But yes, there is a lot of uncertainty when it comes to the events and so forth that are being hosted. Next year, if everything is fine, should reflect the calendar year that I had this year. So things like Simply Audi, Simply Land Rover down at Bewley, things like the National Metro Mini Show up at the British Motor Museum, hopefully the Classic Car Driving Game at Bicester, what else? Tanks, Trucks and Firepower. It should reflect pretty much year on year, basically. I pretty much have the same show calendar. It just gets more and more and more. And I publish all of those dates on my website, which is OurTim.co.uk. Thanks for a free plug, cheeky.
No worries.
And as soon as they're all confirmed, I put them on there and also put them on my Facebook page. I link between all of the event organisers and so forth to try and keep everything as clean and as up to date as possible. And the other reason that I like to try and publicise the events is, the event organisers there, ultimately, they need to get people to go to the events, to pay for the tickets, to keep things, working. We put on a great show, they pay a little bit of money, happy days. But what I have noticed since starting this YouTube channel is that when I've said I'm going to this event, some people who have watched the video or have seen me at this other event doing it actually turn up to this event. I've had people come up to me and say, look, we had no idea this event existed, but we enjoy watching you and we know you put on a good show. And if you say it's a good show, we trust you. So we've come to this event and we'd never have thought to come to it before. And actually, it's been a really great event. We've really enjoyed it. So that's the other reason I'd like to grow the channel, is that I can support the event organisers who have supported me through my growth process. 10 years ago, I started off with doing 2 events a year. I'm now doing 40 odd events a year. So if I can give them something back, that's what I'd hope to achieve with the channel.
Great stuff. As a YouTube creator, are you also a big YouTube consumer? Do you watch a lot of other YouTube channels? Are you a big fan of any creators in particular?
Yes, there are some creators that I am a fan of, and I tend to. So my sort of personality, I guess, is that I can be a bit obsessive about things. So I will really, really get into one thing and have to know absolutely everything about that thing, and then I'll move on to the next thing. I won't sort of dabble across things. It's all I will focus on just one thing. So when I consume YouTube, I tend to find I'll stumble across one channel and then I will keep watching that channel. And when I'm knocking around in the house or doing bits and pieces, I'll put it on in the background. And it's something that I sit there and I'm like, man, I wish people would do that for me because my watch time would go through the roof. But I will just stick it on in the background and just sort of almost have it as company, and sit and listen to them. So I can see, you've got the Casey Neistat shirt there. Casey Neistat was somebody that I can't even remember how I came across him, but I think it was through the electric skateboards. Yeah. And then I started watching his vlog and I really liked the way he edited. Really liked it. For me, it was something new and fresh in the fact that it was so sharp. It almost reflected the way that we consume media on our phones with social media, in the fact that we will flick so quickly, and he almost does that in the way that he edits. And then I almost went off Casey a little bit because when he first started doing it, it felt quite rough and ready and real. And then the more subscribers he got, the more polished he got, and the more people who were sort of copying him, the more he felt he had to up his game with the production and so forth. And it almost became a victim of his own success. And then when he just stopped, he just said, this is not clickbait, I'm stopping the vlog. It was all I don't know what to do now. I know recently he started it up again, but I guess I've lost a little bit of trust with Casey in the fact that I can't, do you know what I mean? Because I'm so obsessed, I don't want to get to the point where then I'm lost again because of not having new content to watch. I will sit there and watch old Casey vlogs as well. There's one vlog that I keep watching of his where he gets the drone back. He saves the drone and it takes off in his office, and he's like, no. That bit makes me absolutely crease. I love that bit. Yeah. Who else do I quite like watching? I like watching Mark Brownlee. One thing that irritates me a little bit with Mark Brownlee is that he's got a fantastic camera setup and he's a very, very good presenter, and he's a fantastic YouTuber. And it's only the smallest thing. I know it's extremely rich for this to come from me, but one of the things that irritates me is that he will look up above the camera. So now I'm looking at the camera and he will look up, and I know why he's looking up. It's because there's a screen up here and he's looking at how he's framing the shop. It's like, stop looking up, look at the camera, look at me, kind of thing. It's like, stop looking away.
Well, that's exactly why that's why Casey Neistat wears his sunglasses, isn't it?
Exactly. So it's a very, very small thing, but I'm always like, Mark, look down, stop looking at the screen, look at the camera. Who else do I enjoy watching? There is a guy called Walterific who I really enjoy watching, and he used to do motorbike vlogs. He still does motorbike vlogs, but he used to do one on Monday and one on Friday, and the Friday one was just sort of more of a ramble. He would go on a ride and he would just talk about his week. The Monday ones were sort of an amalgamation of everything that's happened in the week, and I used to love watching his vlogs because it was all camera mounted, but he had sort of little animes or memes and so forth that would pop up at the bottom that would match what he was saying. And it would just make me crease, like some of the faces that were put on there. I was like, yes, that's the exact face that I would pull in that situation. And often, like say, like a bird flew in front of his motorbike, he would do like a funny voiceover for it, like no, 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 as it went by. It just like that's really funny in the fact that that's how I would see the world, and like that's what's going on in my mind. All those little funny things keep me amused. So those are the sort of three who I go to. The other one that I really enjoy, and I came to him because of tech bag. What was in his tech bag? Jonathan, I think Jonathan Morrison. I think I really like it. He's got a really smooth delivery. But again, I liked his stuff that he was doing, say, 2 years ago before it became, a bit too polished and and that's what I really like in YouTuber videos. Is stuff that is produced to a very high quality, but is still authentic, and it's a very, very fine balance to reach between the two. It can't appear too polished, because then it loses that authenticity. But also, I don't want to watch something that's got very low production value. I don't want someone just to be rambling and rambling and rambling like I am now. It's all like, shut up, I've had enough of you talking, show me something new. Yeah,
well, it's interesting you say that as an ex-radio presenter, because that's obviously just talking and talking and talking with the odd song in between.
Yes.
As a radio presenter, how do you feel like your years in radio influenced your current presenting career? Do you feel like it's changed the way that you present?
I would say it hasn't changed the way I present, but it's moulded the way I present.
Yeah.
I would say that doing a radio show, people think it's very easy to do a radio show. Like, you go into a room, you turn on the mics and you talk. It's not easy at all, because you're in a room on your own a lot of the time. There's a lot of technical stuff going on in front of you as well. There's a lot of things for you to think about. You have to load the system. You have to load all the songs into order. You have to load the right ads into the right time slot, and so on and so forth. You got to think about all the things you need to talk about. And if you were to say to somebody, okay, talk to me now for a minute, most people go, and they don't have that flow. Or if you say to someone, you need to talk, and I don't know how much you've seen of radio studios and so forth, but a lot of the time they will have a countdown at the start of a song before the lyrics start. So when you hear a radio presenter talking over, say, the intro of a song, and they will stop bang on the point when the lyrics start, there's a little countdown in front of them, and it will literally say 12 seconds. It will be counting down. If you would say to someone, talk for exactly 12 seconds and stop bang on there, most people won't be able to do it, because they're not thinking about what they're saying and how they're going to get out of it. So I had that sort of learning curve, and I was trained by some really great presenters, and they showed me how all of this worked. I also did a lot of technical operation as well, so I understood how all of that worked. And I would say because of that, that is sort of that's how I still present. I still see myself as a radio presenter. I'm still looking and going, I have got, say, 2 minutes of this person's time. What am I going to do in that 2 minutes that's going to get their attention and keep them engaged? And it's just that constant thought. And I guess because I come at it from that angle, I'm not your typical show commentator who will just ramble on and go, oh, well, this one was built in 1984, and you can tell that because the bolts actually go with the other. And you're like, oh, please stop. Nobody cares about the bolts and the wheel. Just stop talking. Yeah, and that for me is where I like to make the difference. And I guess that's because of the radio training.
Right. Yeah, fair enough. It does make you a better speaker, I guess. Going back to the car show stuff, which car owners club is the most fun to be around, and which is the worst owners club?
Oh, name and shame. Right.
If you feel like it'll end your career if you say this, you don't have to answer the question.
No. I'm going to answer because I am authentic and I'm real, and as far as I'm concerned, it's the truth. I would say the most fun car clubs are the ones who are not pretentious, they don't own a vehicle to try and get better status, if you like. The people who, and I wouldn't say there's like a single owners club that is, in one camp and there's a single owners club in another, because there's all different members within that group. So, there are some supercar clubs that I have worked with, and, the owners of them have got so much money that they can afford to go out and buy the latest Lamborghini, and they're not bothered about it, and they will still have fun with it, and they're still very down-to-earth people. They're like, yes, I've just spent £400,000 on the Lamborghini. I know that, but I can afford to spend that. And like every supercar owner should, they should make everyone's day with it. They should turn up somewhere and have a sense of humour. Whereas there can be members of the exact same club who have scrimped and saved, and they are real penny pinchers, and they've saved up for, say, I don't know, a 10-year-old Aston Martin. And because they now drive something that's got an Aston Martin badge on the front of it, again, they've got that sense of privilege and entitlement. It's all like, no, you still breathe the same air and eat the same food as everybody else on this planet. You're no better than anybody else, nor is anyone else better than you. But there are some owners' clubs that are very, very particular on details. Yeah, and they will be the ones that will, they will say, no, that one is it's the ones that will say, no, that one's a 1984 model because it's got 5 studs rather than 4, and no, you should know that, and you should tell everyone about that. And it's like, look, that's important to you in your Anaraki bubble, but to the rest of the world, probably your wife, it's not that important. And I'm not talking to you, Mr. Anorak. I'm talking to the poor child that you're dragging around this show, as you probably dragged around 40 other shows of this nature and are now crying because they just want to go home and play on their Nintendo. So I'm trying to bring it to life. And it's not to a particular single mark or anything like that. There are, say, historic marks that may have very historic vehicles in there that have had a timeline of, it could be BMWs, it could be Porsches, it could be Land Rovers, it could be any of them. And they will, you will get the absolute anoraks there who be like, no, it's this because, and that's a really important piece of history. So put it in context. Yeah. To you, yes, this is really, really important. To the rest of the world, probably not.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Edward, you just recently passed your driver's practical test, didn't you?
I did, yes. I must have been about 3 weeks ago now.
Yeah. So as you've just passed, I haven't passed mine yet, but I'll put mine in a few months, I think. Tim,
when you're allowed.
Yes. Do you recall your practical driving test? Did you pass first time? And
I do recall it. So I couldn't wait to start driving, but for some reason I when I turned 17, I didn't book any lessons for like a month. I don't know why. There was just a month that went by that I didn't. And because I'd actually driven cars before I was allowed to, like on private land and so forth, so I understood the mechanics of it. And one of the clients that I work with is a young driver. I want to give these guys a shout out now, not for promo, free publicity or anything like that, but because when I worked with them last year, and I'm due to work with them this year, but obviously COVID happened and so forth, there was something very, very memorable from that I remember. And when you learn to drive, and Edward, you probably experienced this when you first got in the car. Yeah. You're asked to do a lot. Yeah? You're now in control of a car, so you've got to learn the mechanics, you've got to learn what the steering wheel does and all the pedals do and the gearbox and so on and so forth. So you are now trying to learn a new skill and learn new things to do inside this car. And while you're doing all of that, you've also now got to take into account everything else that's going on around you as well. So you are now trying to deal with two things at once, and our brains just cannot do that. Young driver takes people like when they are from 10 years old and puts them in cars on private land and gets them used to just doing all the mechanics of driving a car. So how the brakes work, the clutch works, and so on and so forth. And it's doing it at a time when there's not a time pressure. It doesn't matter how long it takes them to learn all of those skills. They're going to have up to 7 years before they can actually drive. And they're doing it before there's all different pressures going on around us. Whether we want to get in a car so that we can not get the bus to college, or there's a boyfriend or a girlfriend that we want to go and impress, or we've got all these hormones going around us. And actually, we're 17, 18, we actually want to go out and party and get drunk and so forth, not be learning yet again something else because we've got college and university going on.
Yeah.
So it's putting it, when you learn to drive at like 17, 18, it's probably the worst time that you can learn to drive because you've got hormones, distractions, all sorts of stuff going on in your life. When you're like 10, you are still super, super receptive. You teach a 10-year-old to do something, it takes them near enough no time to learn it, and they will learn and know how to do that probably for the rest of their life. It's like when you learn to ride a bike. You never forget how to ride a bike because you learn it at a time when you are most receptive to do it. So a young driver puts kids in cars when they're, say, like from 10 or 17 years old. And I think that is a really, really great thing, because then when you actually go out and learn to drive for real, as you've just experienced, Edward, rather than having to learn all these mechanics, you can concentrate on what's going on around you. Yeah, you know what you're doing inside the car. What's going on outside the car? What's that person doing over there? Is that person actually seeing you? Is he over? Yeah. So I think that is a really great thing to do. When I learned to drive, sorry, Edward, I cut you off.
Yeah, sorry. I was just going to say that it is brilliant, and I think when I was 15 or 16, I had a lesson with the young drivers guys, just because I wanted to have my first lesson not on public roads in case something did go wrong. So went down to Manchester, huge car park, completely empty. There were just all sorts of cones around. So yeah, we just drove around for about an hour, and it was really, really useful, and actually really helped for my first proper driving lesson on actual roads. Made such a difference having done the young drivers.
Yeah, because you know, sort of like, I mean, it's weird. Like, we've all been in cars, but when you're actually in control of the car, you realise how responsive some of those controls are. You know, if you turn the steering wheel, you can feel the weight of the car move around you and so forth. So I think that's a really great initiative. When I learned to drive, I got in the car with the driving instructor. My first lesson, it was snowing and it was really icy, and pretty much we just slid the car around for 2 hours. And then I learned to drive through the winter. So like there was all no sun, there was a lot of bad weather, and so on and so forth. I was due to take my tests on, I think it was something like the 14th of January, but it snowed and all of the lessons for that week cancelled. And then I had to wait another like 3 weeks before I could have my test. So I had my test on the 1st of February 2006, and I was so nervous about having it. Because I really, really wanted to pass. Yeah, and all my friends knew me as the car guy. You know, whenever it came to cars, I was always right, and I was like, I'm never ever going to live this down. If I fail as the car guy in the group, they will forever mock me. And when I got there, like I walk, you go into the room, into that examination room, and you all sit there really nervous with your instructors, and then the test. The guys come out, the examiners come out, and I remember my driving instructor, hilarious guy, right? Really, really nice guy, really chilled. It was like, I just drive around, don't care. You know what you're doing, happy days. And this examiner came in and called my name, and he went, "Oh God!" And I was like, "What? Oh God! What's going on now?" And he was like, "No, it's fine. Just go out and be good. Just go out." And I was like, "Oh, great." So I went out, did tests, and you're meant to have like a 40-odd minute test or something like that. I came back after like 30, 35 minutes. And I pulled in, and I was like, well, I'm back here early because I failed. And it was like, terrific drive, thank you very much, you passed, happy days, done. And got out the car and went. And I was like, oh my God, I passed. I've got a driving license. Oh my God. Driving instructor came running over, got in the car, and he was like, Tim, I'm so sorry. That shouldn't have happened. It's fine. And I was like, what are you talking about? I passed. And he was like, no way. And I was like, what's going on? And he was like, well, that was the chief examiner for the West Midlands. He doesn't usually do lessons or examinations or tests for students. He does the examinations for the examiners. But your examiner called in sick today, so he has done your test. So usually he's so strict. So strict. In fact, he's only passed one student before you. Everybody else he failed straight away. So the fact he came back early, like I thought that you'd failed, and to be honest, I thought he was going to fail you anyway because he's like that. But how many minors did you get? And I showed him expecting like minor. And I've got like 3 minors, and he was like, I don't know what you've done, but that's probably the best drive you've ever done in your life. Fantastic, let's go home. And I just remember going back and just being completely over the moon and being like, yes, this is amazing. So yeah, wow. that was quite a memorable experience.
That sounds good, like quite the lesson, quite the test. Yeah, Edward, yours wasn't quite that eventful, was it?
No, mine is very straightforward. It was actually also one of my best ever drives. Luckily, I felt like I'd pretty much cracked driving, and then a couple of weeks before my test, I had like 2 or 3 lessons in a row where I just made big mistakes, and was just like, when I got to the test, I was thinking, oh no, this is going to be terrible. But yeah, I managed to pass with just 1 minor, which I was very pleased with.
Well done, mate. Well done. I would say with driving, my advice to anybody who thinks they are a good driver, they're not. If you think you're good at it, you're overconfident. Yeah, I've been driving now for 14 years, and I've driven all sorts of cars. And I've driven tanks and all sorts of bits and pieces. I can ride a motorbike and so forth. I still don't consider myself to be a great driver. I would say I'm a confident driver, and I know what I'm doing in a car because I enjoy it. But I would never say I'm a great driver, because as soon as you start going, I'm the best at this and that's when you start overcompensating. You just miss things, which then lead to mistakes.
Yeah. It's dangerous at that point, isn't it?
Yeah. Overconfidence is a huge killer as far as car accidents go, isn't it? Because you can get over cocky, and then you just miss something.
Exactly. I think what we should do, if you guys come down to one of my shows, like after the show, we should do almost a driving test for all 3 of us. We'll set up like some sort of course for all 3 of us, and we'll get 3 very different cars for us all to have a go in.
Yeah, hopefully by then I'll have passed my test, because I've had all my lessons, but I just haven't put the test yet because of COVID and everything.
Even if you haven't, it'll be on private land. It'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll be good. Sweet. So Tim, correct me if I'm wrong. I get the impression that you're a bit of a petrol head.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on Teslas and other electric cars? Have you driven any?
I have, yes, and I almost bought one.
Really?
Very, very close to it. Yes, I almost bought one, but then circumstances changed, and it basically meant I was going to be driving every day further than the range of the car. I really like electric cars. I really, really like them. If you've been in one or if you've driven one, like they are so different to a petrol or diesel car. In fact, if you drive an electric car, and there is a video on my channel where I take a Nissan Leaf from Wolverhampton to Liverpool and back when the beast from the east hit, that really heavy Arctic storm that we had, and we set a challenge show. Yeah, we were due to film a promo video for Nissan for it, and they said, "Oh, we're going to cancel it because of this," and And I was like, "No! This is perfect." One of your biggest problems with electric cars is the fact that when it's cold, the batteries aren't as effective, and people don't trust them. Let's do it during the beast from the east. So we did that. We went to Liverpool and back in the Leaf, and I remember we went there, and it was just so quiet. It's so quiet and so relaxing to drive. It feels like if you've been, say, like in a cheap little, car, one of the things that makes them feel very cheap and little and so forth is the fact that they are so noisy, and it very, very tiring. If you go in something like a Rolls Royce or so forth, they're very quiet, and that quietness feels very luxurious. An electric car has no noise whatsoever. So they automatically feel quite premium, and they drive very differently and so forth, and they just feel very clean and smooth. When you go back to like a petrol or a diesel car, they feel coarse and rough, and you get in there. Like I remember getting back in my Golf after, and I started up. I was like, "Why is this car making so much noise?" Yeah, well, I'm sat at traffic lights. I'm not going anywhere, and all I can hear is dugga 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 dugga. Why are you making all this noise for? It doesn't need to make this noise. Just shut up, kind of thing. Whereas in an electric car, you sat there, it's nice and quiet. It's very calming and peaceful.
Well, some petrol diesel cars nowadays, the engines turn off when you're at traffic lights. So,
yes.
But obviously not all of them.
Yeah. No. I mean, mine's got start-stop, but also it has to sort of be in the right criteria for it. So one of the cars that I have a real peeve with, and it makes me really, really cross, like to the point if I see one on the road, like I have to have a breathing exercise to calm me down. Okay, and it's the Mitsubishi Outlander or whatever it's called. This plug-in hybrid. I mean, it even sounds stupid. It's a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, a PHEV. It's just that car was built entirely to get around taxation. There is nothing good about it, okay? And I'm very happy to say this because I've known people who bought one and go, yeah, it's great, company car tax, it's going to cost me nothing to run and so forth. It's got a tiny, tiny little electric battery pack in it, which means you can only go for about 15 miles or 20 miles, whatever it is, official, on electric power only. So you plug it in for hours, it charges up, and then you can only go 20 miles on a battery pack or whatever. But then as soon as you get in the car, say it's cold, you want to turn the heating on. You turn the heating on and it fires up the engine. And you're like, well, it's not doing, they claim it does like 300 miles to the gallon. No, it's not. It's burning all this fuel just to heat up the cabin. It's got a massive, great big V6 engine. It's just rubbish. It's just absolute marketing drivel. And it drives me mad every single time I see one. I'm like, that is just a rubbish car.
Would you say that is your least favourite car? Or is there something that is even worse than that?
There are cars that make me very cross out there. I'd say that's up there. That is up there. If I ever got to the stage that I was making enough money on YouTube, I would buy one of those and just think of ways to destroy them. Like by dropping things on them, by dropping them off stuff, and just make a series of how to destroy the Mitsubishi Fed.
Old school Top Gear style.
Yeah, just right. This is a 70 cal machine gun. Let's see what it makes of this. Just annihilate it, kind of thing.
Do you reckon that you'll branch out and do some non-car content, or have you done that already?
No, what I want to do next. So last year I did the Learning to Ride series.
Yeah.
And I want to do some motorbike vlogging, whereas I'm just driving around and sort of like capturing parts of the world and what's going on, to almost emulate Walterific, because his videos I find them really engaging because he's driving around sort of in America, and I like seeing the scenery there. So I'd hope that would help me branch out, say, further across Europe and maybe into the Americas. But the next series that I would like to do, and it is very dependent on becoming monetized and being able to afford it, is learning to fly. That's what I'd like to do.
In like a light aircraft.
Yes. And then I want to learn to drive an Arctic truck and do stuff like that. And just like, ultimately, I want to, on your driving license, Edward, you probably got this now. On the back of your driving license, you've got all those little letters that tells you the categories for the different vehicles that you can drive. I want to get ticks next to all of them. Just be able to walk up to something and go, I can drive that, I can fly that, I can do that.
That would be good, that.
Speaking about the motorbike, what was the hardest part about learning to ride a bike?
Okay, so you Edward, you've recently learned to drive a car. Aidan, you're currently learning to drive a car.
Yep.
When you drive a car, your hands are in control of, say, steering and the indicators and so on and so forth, and the gear stick, and then your feet purely do accelerator, brake, and clutch and so forth. And it's very much you've got your top and your bottom half of your body. On a bike, it's the other way around. Your body's almost split in two. So on this side of your body, you've got your clutch on this side. So you don't have like front and back brake as you would on a bicycle. This side, you've got a lever, which is the clutch. And then your left foot, does the gears. So you'll click down for first, and then you have to put your foot underneath the lever and click up, and that will go second, third, fourth, fifth. So you can't say, for example, go fifth to third. If you want to down, you've got to go fifth, fourth, third. Fifth. Yeah, that's right. I thought I said fifth, third, fourth then. Anyway, but then to change down, you've got to click down on the gears as well. So this side of your body is doing sort of like clutch and gears. This side of your body, you've got a turn, rotate for accelerate. You've got brake lever for the front brakes, and then your right foot is your brake lever for your back brakes. So it's a completely different sort of setup. You're going right, clutch this side, gears this side, and accelerate that side, rather than being like steering and then accelerator brake, because then also your hands, not only are they doing clutch and brakes, they're also steering the bike. There's also a lot of difference when it comes to, so like when you're manoeuvring and so forth, they call them lifesaver looks, and it's always looking over to see if somebody has come into the path that you're about to take. So, for example, if I'm, say, in the inside lane, I'm going to move out. In a car, you just glance in the mirror, see if somebody's there, no, indicate, away you go. On a bike, you look there, and they could not be there. You go to move across and look back, and they could have appeared from nowhere. And of course, in a car, if they hit you, you're in a bubble. Yeah, the car will get damaged, maybe written off, whatever. But hopefully, in most cases, I'd hope anyway, you're going to walk away from that. If you're on a bike, it's different. Yeah, it's sort of like, this is just me holding on to a machine that ultimately, I'm the interference to this bike. Bikes just want to go straight and keep themselves up level. When they're moving forward, the momentum balances them. When you're turning them and so forth, you're interfering with that balance. I'm the interference to the bike. Ultimately, that thing is probably trying to kill me. Whereas in a car, probably not.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of thinking about it. Yeah,
but you do see a lot more of the world on a bike.
Yeah,
That's
you don't have
the
restrictions of the.
No, and it's one thing that I've really noticed a difference of when I've been in a car since learning to ride a bike. It's just how isolated you are from the world. You can get in the car, you put the heaters on, you put the music on, driving around, happy days. You're in your own little bubble. Yeah, it's sort of like a home away from home, isn't it? That's how I feel about cars, anyway. You get on a bike. If it's raining on you. If it's windy, you feel the way. You can really feel it on you. You are really interacting with the elements. But then, you don't have like this bubble holding you back. You can turn around and you can open your visor and you can smell things going on around you. And it's just if another car is another car. A lot of car drivers see bikes as these small little irritating things that go really, really quick. They're not. There are people who are very small and irritating and drive them far too fast, for sure. More fool them. But there are also very sensible riders out there who do hundreds of thousands of miles every single year, never really have any problems. They obey the laws of the road and they just crack on with things. And it's just that thing of just give them a bit of respect. They give you plenty of respect. Give them some respect back. If you're sat in pouring down rain, they're outside in it. They are probably quite cold. Things are missing up around them. I haven't got the luxury of sitting in a nice warm car.
The only real other question I had, Tim, is I saw on your Instagram, I think, that you helped host the largest rally of Ferraris, the world record.
Yes, I do. Do you want me to go and get the Guinness World Record?
I was going to ask, do you have the Guinness World Record certificate?
I do. Wait there. So for anyone listening or viewing and so forth who doubts this is genuine. Okay, this is a real certificate from the Guinness World Records, and look, you can see I don't know. You can probably see the that way. There we are. Probably see the.
Oh yeah.
Yep. This is a genuine certificate from Guinness World Records. So back in 2012, I was working for Ferrari, and I remember at my interview with Ferrari, and I'm still very good friends with the director of communication at Ferrari, a really, really good guy, and we have had many, many funny tales and events between us. But I remember at the interview, he said, "Tim, we're thinking about setting a world record this year. It currently stands at about 450 odd. Do you reckon you can do 500?" And I said to him, "No, I don't." And he was like, "Okay, what do you reckon you should do?" I was like, "We will do 1,000. We will do 1,000. 1,000 is what gets you news. 1,000."
Yeah.
I was like, "Right, on that basis, you've got the job." So it was my job to basically bring together 1,000 Ferraris all together, and we had a parade. Now, I've since gone on, and we're still working with Guinness at the moment on these two other world records for the largest parade of Mazdas and the largest parade of convertibles. But for a parade, people don't realise this, but for a parade of vehicles, according to Guinness World Records, they can be no further apart. There cannot be a break in that parade. Every vehicle has to be moving, and there can be no more than 2 car lengths between any vehicle. If there's more than 2 car lengths, that's it. That's the end of the parade. You start a new one. So we had to get a place where we could have 1,000 Ferraris all moving together at the same time. We had Silverstone. I've got a photo of Silverstone from the helicopter that was videoing it all and so forth. And literally the entire circuit is red from all of the Ferraris that were there.
Wow.
And there was a 200-yard gap between the end of the parade and it starting again. We physically could not get any more cars on there. So yeah, we had 1,000 Ferraris. The record actually stood once it went through, as you can see, at 964, and that's because we had some race Ferraris in there, which we thought would be permitted, but Guinness later said no, they have to be road registered with license plates and so forth. So the race cars, unfortunately, were discounted from it, and there was a couple of people who hadn't filled out forms and so forth correctly, which were also discounted from it. But we had 964 Ferraris around Silverstone, all moving at the same time. That
is incredible.
Yeah, that was quite spectacular.
I imagine, well, with Ferrari's budget behind it, you couldn't really go wrong with the helicopter and renting Silverstone.
This is the thing. People think there's like big budget behind it. Sure, there was a budget, but it wasn't as much as you'd think.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't as much as you think at all. It was very much we were already using Silverstone for an event, so we did it at the end of the day,
fair enough.
sort of after it all. We had a lot of help from the Ferrari Owners Club. A lot of people who did it. In fact, everyone who drove their car did it voluntarily. You know, they brought their cars down voluntarily. There was no money exchanged involved for being involved in the attempt. In fact, for every car that got involved, I think they donated. How much did they donate? They said for every car that went through, they would donate an amount to Ben, the automotive charity. I think they donated something like £10,000 or £20,000. I can't remember now.
Wow.
So, you know, there was some budget involved, but a large portion of it did go to charity. And it wasn't, millions and millions of pounds. It wasn't that at all. It was a lot of actual organisation and hard work that brought it all together and made it happen. I do remember when all the cars were going on, and you have to have official counts. You have to have like official adjudicators who were counting them on. We counted all the cars onto the track, and then we went to go and get back into the golf buggy to go back to the grandstand where we had a podium where they could stand and count all the cars coming across the checkpoint. And the golf buggy had died. Okay, the batteries had gone flat in it. So I was like, oh my God, I've got to get 3 adjudicators from here to the grandstand in less than 4 minutes when those cars start going across that start-finish line. Otherwise, this entire thing is going to break. And there was a double-decker bus that was going between the car parks. I just ran over and just grabbed hold of the driver. I was like, I don't care where you're going. Right now, I need you over there. I need you to get these people over there straight away. And we just flew across Silverstone in this double-decker bus to get us there. I literally ran up the stairs just as the cars started coming round that first corner.
Wow,
brilliant!
Did you film that for your channel, or is this before? This is before your channel started.
This is well before, but there is a video on YouTube, and I do still have a copy of the video as well.
Right.
So I'll send those over to you. We had Felipe Massa driving the first car, and he had the president from the automotive charity Ben in the car with him. I remember the factory. In Italy, we're like, right, we're going to fly Massa in. He'll arrive about 4:30. He'll do the lap and he'll leave about 10 to 5, and that'll be it. And we're like, no. It's going to take about an hour just to get the cars on track. He's going to be here for a while.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking, Chris Evans, the radio presenter, he's got a couple of Ferraris. Was he involved in any way?
I don't think he was. No, we did have Vicky Butler-Henderson there. And I've worked with Vicky a few times as well. Vicky, very, very lovely person. Vicky. Love working with Vicky. Worked with Quentin Wilson before as well. Also, really, really good guy. Really good guy.
Wow. So that must be your... Is that your only Guinness World Record certificate? You said you're working on some other ones, but is that the only one that you've actually...
I've got 2 more that we're working on at the moment. It's a bit tricky because for every car that goes through, you have to have a form that basically says there's so many details on it, but basically it's the manufacturer, the model, the driver's signature, the registration number, and I think some of them even want the chassis number and so forth, so they can verify that all of these cars were actually there. And then you've got to have all the video footage that shows they're not 2 meters more apart. Although quite interested, I'm half tempted to resubmit it now and say, well, hang on a second, COVID restrictions say that you have to be more than 2 meters apart. But yeah, there's a lot of loopholes to get through it all. And, You can imagine. I mean, that was 1,000 cars on track. For the Mazda one, we had about 1,400 cars on track.
Wow.
And we did it I think it was up at Bruntingthorpe that we did it. So you can imagine how much work goes in to doing that. And it's just to and fro. In fact, we are looking at redoing it again potentially next year to see if we can increase the number.
Wow. So doing it that one time didn't put you off?
No. Love doing stuff like that. So there is nothing quite like standing on a runway and seeing a line of cars coming towards you, seeing like say 1,500 cars coming towards you at say 10 or 20 miles an hour, and knowing there is nothing you can do to stop this wall of cars coming towards you. I mean, the Mazda one, it was 4 abreast, and it was like, I need to choose where I stand. Do I stand in the middle? Because once these cars start coming through, I'm not going to be able to move either side probably for about 40 minutes. And it does take about 40, 45 minutes for that parade, from the very start of that parade to the very end of it, to go across that single point.
Wow. Yeah, that is quite a surreal sight to behold. I can imagine.
It is quite bizarre. It is quite bizarre. And when you're telling people, look, because people, I don't know why people do this, okay? I don't understand why they do this. But what they like to do is like hold back, create a nice big gap, and then nail it to get past it, straight past the thing. Why are you doing that? Stop doing that, because now you're creating waves, and this is more than 2 meters. You're going to break the world record. So, the first time around, we had people doing it, and I had a radio mic that was linked to a transmitter. We got everyone to tune in to 87.7, whatever the FM frequency was that we were allowed to use. And I was going around at one point, I was like, look, guys, if you start doing this and keep doing this, I'm going home, because we're not going to be able to break this world record with you lot acting like idiots. And I will start naming and shaming you if I have to. And I was like, if you see somebody doing it, point them out to me. Let me know. So I was going around. I was literally like, you in the G-Reg, what are you doing? Pull forward. And everyone around it was like, move, go forward.
That is funny.
Sense of camaraderie there between.
Yeah, camaraderie there, definitely. What is a Ferrari? Do you like Ferraris? Are they like your dream cars, or would you say that something else would be your ideal car to own?
I have a dream car. A dream car, and people will probably stop listening to me and unsubscribe from my channel the moment I say what my dream car is. I'll be like, I'm never listening to this person ever again. My dream car is not a Ferrari or Pagani or anything like that, or anything exotic. It's actually, where is it? Oh, it's this side. It's this. It's an Escort Cosworth. I really, really want an Escort Cosworth. And there's a reason for that. It's because when I was a kid, I grew up watching the World Rally Championship. And there was 3 cars that were always there. There was Colin McRae in his Subaru Impreza, which last month I got to go in. I had ex-Formula One driver David Brabham drive me round in Colin McRae's genuine Subaru Impreza. That was amazing. There's a video on my channel of that. There was the Tommy Mackinnon Mitsubishi Evo, and then there was Carlos Sainz in an Escort Cosworth with this huge rear spoiler, and it was orange and blue and white and red, and it looked amazing. I was like, that's the car, and it just sounded cool. Like every time the commentators were there, they go, here's Sainz in his Ford Escort RS Cosworth. I was like, oh my God, Cosworth. That's an amazing name. That sounds like a dragon breathing fire. Cosworth. Yes, I want one of those. It's just been the car I've always wanted.
Fair enough. And it's an attainable dream car, really. I mean, it's not a Bugatti Veyron, is it? So... No,
it's not, but they are creeping up in value. They're probably about 60 grand at the moment. So it's cheaper to buy a used DB9 than it is an Escort Cosworth. Which is probably the other reason I want to get my channel monetized. If I get my channel monetized to the point I can go and buy an Escort Cosworth, I will drive round to every single one of my subscribers and say, thank you for subscribing. I finally bought my dream car.
Well, if that's not an incentive to subscribe to Tim, I don't know what is. Well, that's pretty much all I had question-wise. Edward, is that the same for you?
Yeah. I think I'm
done. You sure? You sure there's not one more there, Edward? Ask me anything.
Oh, there was one thing I saw. You bought a car off Facebook Marketplace, didn't you?
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a bit about that one then?
Yeah, this was another great idea. Yeah, why not? This was a brilliant idea. So I have a little thing for Vauxhall Calibras, which all came from going across Europe in one that cost £50, and the guys that I went across Europe with, I met the night that we went to the ferry. So I had no idea who these guys were, and it all came because of Facebook. One of my friends came and said, "Look at this rally, we should go and do it." And I was like, "There's no way that me and you will be able to do it." So I'll put a note on there saying, "If anyone's got a spare seat, I've got the cash, I'm up for it, let's do it." 4 days before the rally starts, I get a phone call from one of the team saying, "Look, you put this on like 6 months ago, you're still interested? We just had someone drop out." "Yes, okay. Can you be here in like 4 days?" Yes, okay. And yeah, I still remember stood outside Reading Station, pouring down with rain, Tuesday night, grey Vauxhall Calibra that cost a total of £50. The entire car was £50, gives you an idea of the state of it. Grey, it got a crash, bang, wallop. It was a Batmobile, like all painted up and so forth. It came around the roundabout sideways, pulled up, window goes down, and the guy just looked at me. I had no idea who he was. He just looked at me, and I looked at him and went, "Get in!" And that was it. So I got in this car and we went across Europe. The first time that I'd left the country, it was my first experience of going, across Europe or going abroad. And it was just the most amazing time. And I remember sitting in this car going, I can't believe how good this old car is, because it was so quick and smooth. I was like, this is mega. So I always wanted one. And I bought one 10 years ago that I've had for a long time. Then I bought another one about 3 years ago, which turned out to be one of the very last ones produced. And then this other one popped up on Facebook, and it was quite a rare version. There was only 10 of this version left in the UK. And the guy said, "Look, if it's not sold in the next 3 days, I'm going to break it up. I'm going to break it for parts." And I just couldn't bear the idea of this car getting broken up for parts because nobody had given him what he wanted for it. Yeah, he wanted like £800 for it. So I said to him, "Look, yeah, fine, I'll buy it off you, can deliver it," and so forth, because it was all the way up in Sheffield or wherever it was, and I was down in Oxford. He's like, "Yep, no problem, I'll get it delivered. I've got a low loader here." Fine. I was like, "Is it okay? Is everything mechanical on it okay?" He's like, yeah, it's had new brake lines, it's had this, it's all fine. I was like, "Yep, great, fine. Happy days, done." And it turned up, and from afar, looked fine. Get close to it, less so. It has no brakes whatsoever. I mean, no brakes at all. You put your foot on the pedal, on the brake pedal, it goes straight to the floor. There's no brakes at all. The handbrake just lifts all the way up. Doesn't work. There's a video of it on YouTube of me trying to pull it out of the little storage unit I've got. And I'm trying to stop it on some blocks on a ramp. And I'm having to roll the car back in reverse. And then as soon as it gets some momentum, shift into first gear and catch it on the clutch so that it doesn't roll into the wall behind me. And it takes me 3 attempts, and I just keep rolling over all of these little wheel chucks and everything, and just breaking everything. It is quite funny. And then at the moment, it's down at my friend's garage in Wales, who was the guy that I did the trip with across Europe. It's currently there being restored, so it's all been stripped back. We're stripping absolutely everything out of it. Bare metal has been repainted. We're trying to make it into one of the cleanest, nicest examples there is in the UK at the moment. So that's what we'd hope to work on it together, but because of COVID and so forth, he's sort of cracking on with it without me.
Right, and are you documenting this process for your channel?
Trying to, yes.
Cool. All right.
Well, he's not very technical. He's very good with mechanics and so forth. But give him a camera, he's like, I don't know what this is.
Interesting. Yeah. You think that people who are savvy in that field will also be savvy, but nope. Apparently not.
No. Very, very mechanical. Like anything broken mechanical-wise, he's top absolutely on it. Give him something electrical, can't fix it with a hammer, doesn't know how it works.
Interesting. Right.
Yeah, so hopefully when that's all done, there will be a nice video of it on YouTube.
I look forward to seeing it. Yeah. And
would I advise someone buying a car sight unseen off Facebook? No,
possibly not.
Absolutely not.
Possibly
no,
not.
Don't do it.
Yeah, not the wisest decision. But hopefully it'll end up being worth it in the end, possibly when it's all done up.
It will be. It's saved. That's the main thing. There still will be 10 of them on the road, not 9.
Yeah, that's
great
good
stuff. And hopefully we can arrange potentially going to some event of yours next year.
Absolutely, 100%.
If COVID is if COVID is
Down
lessened by then. We'll see.
Yes,
we'll see.
I'm sure.
Hard to say at this point.
I have one last question for you guys.
Yeah.
Obviously, we found out Edward's nickname. What was it? Adzel. No.
Gazed.
Gazed. Yeah.
Gazed.
Yeah.
What is the Adionator? Where's that
Adionator? Again, another interesting sort of nickname from. It was actually primary school. I think it was possibly even year 3 when I was a very wee lad. Don't remember the context of it, but I vaguely remember the time and place of when it first became a thing that someone said. A friend of mine called Toby Atkinson. We were on the school playing fields. It was like a sports day or something. I don't know where it came from, but he just said the Adionator, and I was like, oh, it's a pretty cool name. And then years later, when I was making a YouTube channel, I was like, what do I call this? I don't know. The Adionator, that rings a bell. I'll just name it that. And it stuck. I mean, it's. I would consider changing it, but I don't have anything better to change it to. So it's gonna stick for as long as I don't have any alternatives.
Fair. No, I had to ask.
Yeah, it's polarizing. Some people are like, "Oh, that's a pretty cool name," and other people are like, "Are you in year 3 still?" So,
well, anyone who's ever met me knows that I am 30-something, going on 7.
Yeah, exactly.
As soon as I see something I like, I get very excited about it.
No, but the name OurTim, as you explained, is a very good one, and it works in multiple levels, so it's very clever. So it definitely fits your brand. But anyway. That's pretty much all the questions we had for you. Thank you very much for being this guest. This is by far the longest episode of the podcast that we've done so far, but it's been absolutely amazing every minute of it. So thank you very much for submitting out the form.
Thank you very much for having me on, and thank you also to your listeners and your audience for listening to me dribble on if you're still out there. Thank you.
That percentage, I don't know exactly how many people it will be, but probably not a huge amount, being realistic, but we'll see. But I mean, hopefully some of your viewers will find it interesting as well. And if you do post about it, then it might gain some interest.
100%.
But yeah, make sure if you haven't already to subscribe to Tim and to Edward and I if you haven't already. And thank you for listening. And I'll see you next Sunday.